Greetings, loyal airmen, and welcome to yet another Airship 27 podcast. This is number 31. As we get into the month of September, as usual, the show is hosted by yours truly, Captain Ron Fortier, and my good buddy and partner in crime, none other than...
Chief Engineer Rob Davis from mid-Missouri via Skype. How is everybody?
You're mentioning your locale. I think it may be appropriate that both of us, real quick, extend our well wishes to the people from Texas and now the people in Florida, both of whom have had to deal with some severe and savage weather these past few weeks. And so we send out our best wishes and thoughts and prayers and hope that, you hunker down and you pull through this.
Yeah, it looks like, but from the track of Irma, that it may go all the way up into Georgia before it finally peters out. So there may not be just Florida involved in this next one. It may be Georgia as well. So everybody in the path of this storm, head for the high hills because it's on its way. And after seeing what happened in Houston. Oh, my goodness.
Don't be foolish and don't be brave. When the authorities tell you to pack your bags and move.
Yeah, that absolutely. Hopefully...
there is... we're going to talk about this in a few seconds, too, and it's weird how topics connect. But there is no stuff in your life.
Yeah, okay. Oh, tell me. Both of us have got stories. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's see. Now, before we get further into this, I've got to read something here that we do every podcast because we're thanking some folks here and we're telling where we are. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find every episode of the Airship 27 podcast on comicspodcast.com each month. You can also find us at iTunes, Stitcher, Comic Frontline, YouTube, and of course, Zone4Podcast.com.
Yay! All right. I was checking out, out of just curiosity this afternoon before we got together to go live on this. I went over to YouTube, and I've said this before in past episodes. If any of our loyal airmen can't find these other sites that our shows are posted to, YouTube is, I think, Rob, the easiest of the bunch.
Seems to be, yeah.
Just go to youtube.com, and when the page pops up on your monitor, just go to the search box and just type in Airship 27 podcast, and every single one of our past podcasts will pop up. Basically, easy to click on it, and there you go. You're actually live listening to the episode. And I bring all this up, Rob, only because there's also places on each show, including our own, as part of the Zone 4 family. But when on YouTube, a listener can hit the subscribe button. And all that will do is just simply, it's an automatic thing that YouTube has. And every time Rob and I and Sparky Brant Fowler post a new episode, you're notified. So if you want to, really stick with what's going on with Airship 27, one of the easiest ways to do that, when a new podcast has been aired, is simply subscribe on the YouTube page. So
yep, Rob's head is nodding in ascension. Yes, that's it. If you if you like us that much, that's one way to keep track of us.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I don't know, but I like me.
So guys, we tell goofy stories every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, bad joke of the year.
Buddy. Oh no!
Yep. Two drunks walk into a bar, and one looks at the other one and says, "So," he said, "Did you see the eclipse?" And the other one says, "No, the moon kept getting in the way." Now, if I had a drummer behind me, we could riff off that,
Brum-bum.
Yeah. I heard that during the whole eclipse thing, and it just cracked me up. It's about as silly as you can get.
Yeah, and you were right on the edge of it. It went right over where I live. So we got to see. Did you get to see the full eclipse, or was it just partial for you?
Well, you might as well call it, full. I think the percentage they broke down, believe it or not, was 97%.
Oh, well, yeah, you might as well have the full eclipse.
Yeah.
But we had the full deal here, so.
It was around 11 in the morning, Rob, and Valerie and I literally took our lawn chairs and went and sat out in the front lawn.
Yeah.
And sat there with our heads tilted back with our glasses on and watched it. And, it's nature is, we just talked about, the hurricanes and stuff, but nature is all powerful, whether, in acts of brutal weather or in its sheer
with
beauty.
All the advances we've made in technology, we still can't control certain things. Hurricanes,
including Mother Nature. And that I say amen. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she does a pretty good job.
Yes.
We just need to get out of her way sometimes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I have no problems with science developing early warning systems. Okay.
Yes.
The earlier, the better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
So, anyways, hey, I mentioned the bit about stuff a little earlier on, and I'm going to get into this really quick for all our loyal airmen who've had the opportunity to follow my Facebook page in the last few weeks. They will be familiar with this fact, and that is that after 7 years of renting a really nice home here in Fort Collins, we finally found ourselves at the desired place, which was always our goal when we moved here from New England, which was to buy our own home. And so we did it. We've been blessed, and things worked out, and so we bought a home. And all that did mean, though, was we are now moving into that new home.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, we still have several months before the lease on our rented house expires, so we've plenty of time to do that. But the thing is, in the 7 years prior, Rob, I want to say maybe 95% of the books, the toys, the CD, the music CDs, and the movie DVDs that came with us from New England were stored in the garage.
Right, yeah.
And now I find myself opening these boxes 7 years later, and something shocked me to no end. I mean, I had forgotten some of the books that I actually own. And, brings back tons of memories. I mean, I literally have some paperbacks, Rob, that I bought when I was 13 years old.
Yeah. Me too.
The curse of the book lover, right? We can't get rid of this stuff. So here we are, right? We have this brand new home, and we hired a carpenter to come in and to build bookshelves for me. But all around this office, okay? He builds all these bookshelves. And sure enough, I posted pictures of the empty bookshelves, thereby creating a new word or in our lexicon from our colleagues called shelf envy.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
But so our good friend from Christopher Chance from Texas, when he saw those, said we should start up. But they wanted to start some kind of a contest to see how fast it would take me to fill those shelves. Well, it took approximately 48 hours, my friend.
Oh,
and then
man.
Here's the thing. Not only am I bringing over all those boxes that were stored, but come on, do you think I sat around for 7 years and didn't buy more stuff?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, the reality starts to sink in and really sink in fast and hard. All right. Our dear friend Emily Janke hit the nail right on the head when she posted on Facebook. Ron, you're soon going to be out of room. What are you going to do next? You still have all, and I had to sit back and realize, and this is what we were talking about earlier. One of my favorite all-time comedy routines is the late George Carlin's routine on Stuff. and it's haunted me for the last week, believe me, all right? So that it literally became a case of, you know what? It's impossible for me to bring everything into this new office and basically, call a psychologist and the guys with the white jacket and call me a hoarder,
Yeah.
This can't happen. And so, Valerie and I sat down and I told her, I said, I'm biting the bullet. And she ready to clap, of course. Yeah. But basically it's been I won't say throwing away, but I am boxing all those books, and I'm close to well over almost 300 of them now, Rob.
300 books, yeah,
books, just books,
yeah,
that are not coming to the new office.
Okay.
Either because they have no emotional attachment to me, other than I enjoyed reading them, and so I'm going to part with them. There are multiple resources available. Happily, Fort Collins is a mecca for used bookstores. So my first thought is I am going to reach out to all my comic book and writing friends here in the city and basically say, guys, I've got 300 books in good condition, everything from horror, fantasy, mystery, science fiction, new pulp, you name it. First come, first dibs, come on over, because I really don't want to have to lug these around. If you want them, they're yours. And when that runs its course, whatever's left, I'm just going to donate to one of these used bookstores. And truth be told, I don't even want a penny for any of this, Rob. Basically, I just...
Can I throw another idea at you? I'm going through something similar, and I'll get to that in a minute. Let me throw something else out there for you. Your local library. I know our local library has a book sale every once in a while. And
right.
So you can donate them to your local bookstore. You can even put a value on them and take it off your taxes. So that's an idea for you as well.
Right. Because, and I'm sure everyone who's listening to this episode knows exactly what you and I are all about. in that, I much prefer to do that than the alternative of throwing them away.
Oh, Lord, no. Should never throw a book away.
I don't want to throw a book away ever in my life, and that's what I'm saying. So the idea is just the thought that I can just give them to other people who will read them, enjoy them, is my primary goal.
Yep, there you go.
So that's been Ron's little priority for the last 2 weeks, and it's kind of crazy because in the middle of all this moving, as we talked about last episode, I've got a teaching class coming up in about 3 weeks. And then last week in the middle of moving, I got jury notice.
Oh, no.
So, buddy, it's like they're coming at me from all sides right now. I'm doing my best at least to keep the editing portion of Airship 27 going. And you and I will be talking about that in a second as to what new books we have coming out, what's in the works. But believe me, my apologies to those people, other publishers, editors, and my own fans who are looking for new fiction from me. That's taking a back seat right now because all these obligations have come at me out of the blue. And I'm kind of hoping that by the time we get into November, we'll be squared away in the new house. Jury duty will be behind me. I'll have wrapped up another convention. And who knows, maybe by mid-November, Ron can get back to writing again, which would be really nice.
Okay. Fingers crossed. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so you were going to talk about your own cleaning experiences.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I have been living my working space here at home that I call my studio is an upstairs room. It has not been straightened or truly cleaned in probably several years, beyond just the surface. So I have done what my wife and I call the march through Georgia, starting on one side of the broom and working my way to the other. Sherman's march through Georgia.
Right.
So I've made it 2 feet. I've started on the far end of the room, and I've made it 2 feet. I had a large stack of comic books that I didn't realize until I started going through them, bagging them, and putting them in short boxes. I have 7 short boxes full of comics dating back to 2005.
Wow.
12 years worth of comics.
Wow.
Yes. 12 years worth of comics. I had no idea. I thought it was like 3 or 4 years, but no.
Right.
They date back to 2005.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and 7 short boxes packed full. Plus plus the stack of the fairly recent purchases that haven't even been read or looked at yet. So, which is like a third of another short box. So, yeah, Rob is, and the shelf next to my drawing board, that hasn't been looked at in years, and I noticed it was kind of listing to one side. It's built. I built it myself. I built it myself, so I hadn't really looked at it until I started cleaning, and it was leaning to one side. So I straightened that out too.
Oh.
Yeah. If I hadn't done something, probably within 6 months, it would have fallen over. So it's a good thing I started now. But yeah, I've got mine's not quite as bad as yours. I don't have to go across town with it, but oh my goodness. And it still looks like a hoarder lives in this room, because I've just kind of, some things have just got moved from one side of the room to the other until I get to that section. But my word, I had no idea there were that many comics. That took 3 days to box them up. So I know whereof you speak, Ron.
yes, you do. And look, we'll cap off this entire section. I'm sure half our loyal listeners will laugh.
They're probably tired of listening to this part.
I'm sure they're all familiar with what we're doing.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh yeah.
So here's the thing, right? we're boxing all this stuff up, and we're coming to the new house. The guys that are helping us move coming in with these huge boxes of my books and everything from the old garage. And as they're coming in, Valerie's pointing into my office, in there. So at one point, my granddaughter, God bless her, right? My granddaughter Cora comes up and says, "Hey, Pep," she says, "Do you want some help with that? You want me to help you unpack?" And when she said that, I looked up at her, like with the shocked look, and Valerie immediately jumped in, because Valerie gets it totally after having been married for me as long as she has. And she goes, "No, dear," she says, as much as your grandfather appreciates your offer, and I nodded and said, "I do," she says, "he has to put it away himself, because if somebody else puts it away, he won't be able to find it, and then he'll be a bear."
That's exactly right. That I have a similar story myself. When we first moved into this house many years ago, I set up a room for my studio, and it was a wreck. There's the old saying about creative minds or messy minds. Well, yep. I have a messy mind. So anyway, my wife, thinking she was helping me out, went into the studio and straightened. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find a thing. So I after I got mad, fortunately she was not home when I got mad, so I had time to calm down. But when she got home, I pulled her aside and I said, "Please don't ever do that again. I can't find anything." I said, here's the thing. I know it's in that pile, and I know it's about halfway down. Reach into that pile and see what's there, and I'll tell you what it is. And she did it, and I went, "Oh, see? That I know what's in each pile. When you move them, I can't find anything. I have my own filing system." So, she never did it again.
Yeah, Valerie had done that to me one time. She'd come into my office and said, "Let me clean this up for you." And I went, "Nope." And she goes, "Ron, it's a mess. How can you find anything?" And I said, "Dear, it's what we call organized chaos."
Uh-huh.
Right? It's pretty much the oxymoron, my friend. You and I know where our stuff is. We put it there, okay?
Yeah, I know I laid it on this pile, and then I laid this on top of that, and that on top of that. And
a total stranger, our better halves will walk back and see nothing but confusion and mess and disarray. Mm-hmm. But again, it's our organized chaos. So
absolutely.
All right, moving right along.
Okay.
Here. And we're going to get back onto a little bit of the subject of what we actually do to have fun when we're not digging through our.
This is part of it. This is where we work. I mean, in organized chaos, but that's how we get things done. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I want to talk about next is going from organized chaos to going to a well-organized convention machine.
Okay.
And by that I mean the local Fort Collins Comic Con, which 2 weeks ago held its third annual event here in Fort Collins in the section town called Old Town at the Adsland Community Center. And Rob, it was a ball. It was a huge success.
Cool.
They had a great attendance, and as ever, the show is put on by a gentleman named Nick Armstrong, and Todd Jones, our mutual friend, is one of his directors. And they had some really great comic guests this year. Several animation writer-directors from Hollywood.
Cool.
Who came to the show. And, Rob, they were really, really a lot of fun. They did a lot of panels. Even when they weren't busy at their table, they were walking around to the other tables, talking to the other vendors and everything else. A really, really nice bunch of animators from Hollywood. And it was fascinating to listen to them talk about the future of animation. And I'm sure you've heard, and a lot of our other friends, streaming services now are becoming the big thing.
Right, yeah.
Right. You know, with Netflix, going through the roof over the last few years. So as of, maybe last month, the news came out that Disney, in 2 years will end their contract with Netflix, at which point they're going to start their own streaming service. And one of these animators I got into a really, really fascinating discussion with about all this, and he told me that Warner Brothers is going to be next.
Yeah, they've got a big catalog of animation.
Right.
Yeah.
So not only animation, but movies and everything else. We're talking about streaming their own channel. So the point being was, he says, get the word out to your fellow creators, Ron. He says, especially those who created original series, comic characters or whatever, to be ready to pounce. Because when big outfits like this create streaming services, you're basically going to be on air 24/7.
They need content.
He said they're going to need it in the worst ways possible. So he said now is the time to really develop original properties that they're going to be hungry to look for. So I pass that out to all our loyal listeners here. This one gentleman, and I don't want to throw names around, but again, very professional, very, very talented writer, producer, for animation shows, and has worked for most of the major studios, Rob. And just between you and me, before he left that weekend, he had a half a dozen issues of Mr. Jigsaw in his release.
Well, no doubt. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, no, he stopped by the table, and like I said, I'd already met and talked to him. So it was one of those moments when he was walking around the table. And so we got to talking, and I said, "Can I give you some comics?" And he looked at me. I said, honest, pure heart. I said, just something for you to read on the plane ride back from Denver, And he looked and he saw. I said, "Is this your character?" And I said, "Yeah." And Valerie, of course, beamed up and told him a little bit about the history of Mr. Jigsaw. He was quite taken and wanted to pay me for them. And I said, no, just take them. It was a pleasure talking. Thank you for coming to our show here in Colorado. And all that stuff that, you were kind enough to, let us know about in the panels he did. Rob, the show is a non-profit show, and all the proceeds go to the Poudre Library system here in Fort Collins in northern Colorado. And as they did last year, I think the final take for the library is close to $4,000.
Cool. Very cool. That's great.
So my hat's off to everybody in northern Colorado, and especially Nick Armstrong, Todd Jones, and all his wonderful staff, who once again put on a fantastic show. I tell you, and I talk about this all the time, I love these little shows, my friend. They open the doors Saturday morning. The show is Saturday and Sunday. They open the doors Saturday morning, and you're sitting there, and you know this feeling as well as I do. We've done way many shows together. Once they open the doors and the general public comes in, you're sitting there going, okay, so when's my first sale going to happen? How long is that going to take? And is there going to be a good audience? And are people going to be buying, et cetera, and having a good time? Rob, I kid you not, 5 minutes after the door opened, this young lady, college age maybe, comes in, rushes up to where my table was. Valerie and I just sitting there having coffee. And she looks at me and she goes, "Hi, Mr. Fortier." And I says, "Hi." And I don't recognize her per se. We see hundreds of people all the time at shows. She goes, "I just wanted to come over and tell you I bought your graphic novel, Boston Bombers, last year at this show." And I looked at her and I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "It's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. Thank you very much for it." And that was it. She walked off.
Wow.
Says, "It's a good show."
Yeah, that's a good opener. Yeah,
that's a good opener. It was, and it became the prophecy of the rest of the weekend because we met so many nice people. And you know what, Rob? You and I talk about this all the time. Again, it's that sign of a healthy show. Saturday, we saw a lot of familiar faces, old friends from the last couple of years.
Right.
Sunday, half the crowd was new faces.
Ooh.
People who've never been to the show before.
That's good.
The show been here? We'll tell them, well, this is the third year. Damn, I wish I'd have known about this 2 years ago. That's a healthy sign.
Yeah. The only unhealthy thing is that the word didn't get out to them.
Well, again, and see, that's the thing. The people involved do have a post-convention meeting where they talk about what went wrong, what went right.
What do we need to do different? Yeah.
Right. One of the things that I specifically told Todd was when you guys get together, you need to pump yourselves on the back for your marketing this year because it worked exceptionally well. That you got so many new people means you reached out further than you have in the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Keep that momentum, please.
Yep.
So okay. That's it. All right, buddy. Hey, look. So those are the extra things that are part of what we do. And, of course, the big reason we're always here for our loyal airmen is to talk to them about what Airship 27 has been up. So why don't you take the next...
So what's come out since our last show? Well, Captain Action number 3, Cry of the Jungle Lord. We actually did predict this one correctly. This does not happen very often, where we actually predict one and it actually comes out. This was written by Jim Beard and Barry Reese, and Jim. I've seen a couple of Facebook posts from Jim, and he's not happy with the fact we mentioned his name first because he thinks Barry did the bulk of the work on this thing. Mm-hmm. Personally, you could interchange them because Jim came up with the idea for this, and Barry, did the writing of it. But Jim likes us to tout the fact that Barry really knocked his plot out of the park. So that's my little aside. But this is our third Captain Action pulp novel, and it's a fast-paced winner from start to finish. And Captain Action once again battles his only foe, Dr. Evil, deep in the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula. Whereas this time out, he has help from two unique and colorful characters. One is a lovely Mexican agent, Celine Rubio, and the other is a mysterious masked figure straight out of a Mayan myth called the Gibbon, and said to be the protector of the jungle. As ever, yours truly did the interiors and overall book design, while Ted Hammond provided a truly beautiful cover. Again, he knocked it out of the park. Though this book is Jim's last outing with the series, we are really hoping that Barry will pick up the baton and give us more of the good captain's brand new adventures here. I absolutely agree with that. He did a really bang up job with this thing. I don't know how much Jim's. I don't know how much of Jim is in there and how much is Barry. Jim says mostly Barry, so I'm going to take his word for it.
The real proof in the pudding when two writers get together is how seamlessly they mesh.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree with me. Okay, I would challenge any reader to pick this book up and tell me which writer wrote which section. You can't.
No,
it's a flawless piece of writing between the two of them. And as you suggested, Jim obviously wrote the outline, but he was way overbooked. He's had some phenomenal writing projects in the last year or so, including I think he wrote a Spider-Man novel for Marvel.
Yes, I seem to remember seeing
paperback
that.
series.
Yeah.
Right. So again, he found himself under the gun, but it had always been his plan when he first kicked off this idea of doing Captain Action as a pulp series with us and the kind people at Captain Action Enterprises, Ed Cotto, Joe Ahern, and Michael Paulus. That he would do 3. And so I think Jim had a little, bit of concern. He couldn't wrap up that 3rd issue. And then somehow or other got into a conversation with Barry Reese, who from the first book, and I don't know if you remember, when we did the first book that came out, Riddle of the Glowing Men, Barry was one of the first people to to applaud it, to write a nice review up on Amazon, and let it be known that he was a huge, huge fan of the character. So I guess it didn't take Jim a great deal of effort or arm twisting to get Barry on board. And the result is this absolutely fantastic book. Reading and editing was a pure joy for me. And your illustrations, and then, as you said, Ted Hammond, well, I can't applaud Ted enough. He is such a gifted artist, and his covers are just plain drop-dead beautiful. They really are, as this one is.
He's got this clean, crisp, sexy style that is just stunning. Whenever we get a cover for him, I'm stunned by how crisp his artwork is. It's crazy sharp. I couldn't do that if I worked my life away.
You definitely have different styles.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. And Ted is that unique where when you see any of his pieces, you in the back of mind you'll go, oh, that's a Ted Hammond. That's what that's all about.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Hey, and as we wrapped up that item, hey Barry, if you're listening to this particular episode, and we hope you are, thank you so much, and please consider picking up that baton and giving us more Captain Action adventures. You're a pro at it. You're one of the best new writers in pulp fiction today. Anyways, we'd love to have you, approach us eventually and start planning maybe a fourth Captain Action adventure. I think that would be fantastic.
Yep, ditto.
All right. Okay, I'm going to take what's coming up next. And I got a funny feeling, Rob, for what you're going to be doing later this evening. We're going to hit another one out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I think so, because we just got an email on this. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yep. Coming up next, C.O. Jones 2, Skinners. Much to our delight, Florida-based art teacher Javier Lugo finished his interior illustrations for this book, the second in the series by the prolific Mr. Fred Adams Jr., featuring a World War II veteran, C.O. Jones, who has these multiple arcane tattoos all over most of his torso and his arm. And they warm up whenever he is near someone who practices magic. In this tale, Jones is working in Los Angeles after the war as a private eye and gets involved with a blackmail scheme that's targeting very famous Hollywood celebrities. As he digs into the matter, he soon learns all of Hollywood's monsters aren't only on the big silver screen. Now, Rob here provides the cover, and the book is currently being proofread. And as we said, Javier Lugo, his first assignment for Airship 27, did the interiors. And I think one of the most things that I take a great deal of pleasure of, Rob, is when we get new illustrators to work for us, give them an assignment and a book to illustrate, and then they have as much fun with that book as we do. And this was the case here. Javier so much enjoyed Fred's novel and the character of C.O. Jones that when he turned in that ninth and final interior illustrations, he let me know that. He made mention about how much fun this was for him and what a great writer Fred is. Well, buddy, I didn't take too long to pounce because we already have a new C.O. Jones sitting in the files, Volume 3. And I immediately got back to Javier and said, well, hey, if you're sincere about that praise, is there any chance you might fit into your schedule doing the interiors for his yet another C.O. Jones adventure? And much to my delight, Rob, Javier jumped on board and signed on. Of course, he's got his other obligations, his own art chores and commissions. Plus, like I said, he's an art teacher in Florida, and hopefully he's in a place where he's safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope he's gone to higher ground. Definitely.
Yeah, right. And he has officially signed on, and when we get to C.O. Jones 3, there'll be some continuity with Javier doing the illustrations. But as you alluded to before we started this, he had done the interiors. You had done the cover, which is awesome, and I really appreciate. Very, very unique and stylish, and portrays the character extremely well. At the same time, our good friend Jonathan Sweet was doing the proofreading, which he wrapped up this afternoon. So obviously, your evening is going to be assembling this book, And once you've done that, the next process will be sending the completed book off to the author, Fred Adams, and he will get a final look at it. Yep. Once he has done that and gets it back to you, then it's a matter of hopefully by the end of the weekend you can post this to CreateSpace, and sometimes next week, C.O. Jones #2 Skinners will be available from Amazon. All fingers crossed.
Yep, it'll all come down to how much time Fred has right now to look at it once I get it done. I haven't even looked to see how many corrections it's got in it. But Fred's work is usually pretty tight anyway, so there probably won't be all that many. So, but then it'll just be a matter of getting it back to Fred and letting him look at it. And if he's busy, then it might take him a while to get to it. Otherwise, he'll get it back to me ASAP. So, maybe by Sunday.
Right. And the last thing I want to say about that particular agenda is, to all our loyal listeners, again, remember I said this is Volume 2. And we have, in the last couple episodes, done a great deal of talking about Fred's talent and how incredibly gifted he is as a storyteller. This man's writing skills, I mean, I'm jealous as hell. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? And so if you're all intrigued by what we just talked about, this character, remember, C.O. Jones #1 is already there. It's out on Amazon, available in all 3 formats that we use. It's available as a paperback, it's available on Kindle, and there is an audiobook from audible.com. So if you're curious and you want to get in a head start on C.O. Jones, go pick up Volume 1. It's just called C.O. Jones by Fred Adams Jr. I think you're going to be really taken with this character in this series, and then you'll be ready for #2 when it comes out in about another week.
Yep.
All right. And then what's going to happen?
I've also got a box sitting next to me here that came in a couple of days ago.
Did it come from Hawaii?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So I'm gonna talk about this. Talk about what was in that box. Barry Baskerville. We're thrilled to announce the 5th in our children's book series featuring Barry Baskerville, the boy detective who emulates his hero, Sherlock Holmes. In this story, Barry Baskerville's marvelous memory, he saves his parents from unscrupulous insurance scammers. As ever, the story is written by creator Richard Kellogg, with art by Gary Cato. This is a great addition to a really fun all-ages series. And I'll say something here that I took one of our copies. I don't know if I gave him the first and the second, or if it's just the first, but my wife is a teacher at a Catholic school for kindergarten through 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And in their library is a copy of at least the very first Barry Baskerville. And the library, they recently had a reading, I forget what they call it, but anyway, it's an emphasis on reading. And on right out there in the front was Barry Baskerville, the very first one. So I'm going to have to dig in and see how many they've got, and get them the other ones. Donate those to that local library. They really like the book, and they are a lot of fun. A lot. Of fun.
They are. That's great news. Thanks for sharing that with us, my friend. I have several nieces back in New England who are young mothers now, and they have their children are in their between the ages of 5 and 7, and so I had sent out myself copies of Barry Baskerville to several of them. The #1 and I think a couple of 2 and 3s, and I was really, really taken with the response I got from my nieces. They eagerly replied and said that my great nieces, absolutely love these books, and to please let them know whenever a new book comes out.
Cool.
Yep. Again, for those people, just a little background on this. Richard Kellogg is a retired college professor who taught for, I believe, it was 40 years before he retired. He's been a lifelong Sherlock Holmes enthusiast and fan. Belongs to like every Sherlock Holmes club there is. All right, and basically was inspired to do this series of a young boy, like I said, with this affinity towards the great detective. So, hooking him up with Gary Carter was a no-brainer, because Gary loves to do children's stuff. He loves to do draw a cartoonish style which is perfectly suited for children's books. And so here we go. We're releasing the 5th book in this series, and our plans are hopefully to do a book a year. And I'm going to tell you, Rob, as we were talking earlier at the start of the episode, if anything, if any particular character really deserves to be picked up by television, okay, or Hollywood or whatever, it's Barry Baskerville, Boy Detective. The potential there for a series is phenomenal. Never mind, like I said, I think your idea of seeing, these kind of books in little grade schools,
right.
Kindergarten or whatever, I think is a phenomenal idea. So thank you, Professor Kellogg and Gary Cotto for giving Airship 27 something our young readers can really, really enjoy.
Yeah, the illustrations Gary does are just a stunning, very bright, happy colors. So it's always a pleasure. I haven't opened this box yet, so I was going to open it tonight, but now that the proofing for C.O. Jones has come out, I'm going to have to put it off another day. But can't wait.
So that leads into, and I almost forgot it, but I have to share it with you and our loyal airmen. Okay, so I get my package because God bless Gary, he sends them to both of us. He out of his own pocket, he goes and he makes these great copies. You get the originals, I get color copies that are just
color copies.
Oh, he doesn't send me black and white anything, Rob. Believe me. So I get a big package in the mail like 3 days ago.
Wow.
And I see the return address from Honolulu, and I went, it's got to be the copies of the Barry Baskerville new images. So I take them home and I bring them into my new office, all right, because I have it set up. I have my PC here, and I am working in the new office. And so Valerie happened to go by the door and saw the big envelope. She says, "So what's that?" I said, "Oh, Gary did new illustrations for Barry Baskerville 5. So, she loves Gary, and we met him last year on our trip to Hawaii. So she comes in the room, pulls up the extra chair next to me, and is sitting there looking over my shoulder as I pull out the artwork. And the first thing Valerie said, and I got it myself, was she went, "Woo, he's using a new palette."
Oh.
So I looked at the images, okay, and as you were talking earlier, for doing Barry Baskerville as opposed to other things that Gary does, because he is a mural painter, he is a comic book artist, he's an illustrator, all these things. When doing the children's books, he has a tendency to stick to primary colors.
Yes.
Which is obviously the right cue for a children's book. Rob, this one is a little more subtle. It's a little more complicated. There's a little more browns and oranges and those kind of things.
Wow, okay.
That's immediately obvious from the cover. So we're flipping through the various pages, and I looked, and I said, "Val, you're right." And I said, "He is using a different palette. That's really nice." So later that night, I sit down, and I emailed him, thanking him, telling him I got the package, and thanking him for it, because my phone wasn't hooked up. PC was, all right? But the phone read your bit about praising the new palette, and he says, actually, it wasn't a choice. He said, I ran out of all those other colors. So for all you who wonder how creative decisions are made, Gary actually did go on to explain that there's an art store where he buys all his supplies, and as I've just mentioned, he is one of the premier mural painters in the islands, Rob. All right, and if you ever see his acrylics, it'll blow you away. He paints, the islands, the beaches, and all this. Well, he gets all his colors, including the colored, watercolors and acrylics for the Barry Baskerville books from one store. And I guess for many, many years, he's been buying this one brand of paints. They've gone out of business.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Yep. And he was so used to them. He knew what he was doing, how to manipulate them. You know what I'm saying? You're an artist.
Absolutely.
Right. And he found himself, you got to get something. So now he's using a new brand. And it's a different texture. It's a different hue. It's not the exact same thing. So, he said he was a little nervous and worried when he sent out the package, but very relieved he got my response. And so that's why the new palette. It's strange that in the roundabout way, we get something fresh and neat because he's such a gifted artist anyways. But I thought I'd share that story with you.
Yes, I've had that very same thing happen to me. I've got this special type of liquid watercolor that I used to use in my airbrush back in the old days when I used an airbrush to paint covers for Scimitar way back when. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I knew that this company was going to stop making these, so I bought a big bunch of them, and I still have bottles over here on that shelf that I straightened up. That's part of the weight that was putting it to one side. Is the weight of some of those extras. So I'm looking at them right now that they're sitting over there.
And once those are done.
Once
they're gone, right?
Yeah, I'm very I don't know what I'm going to do once those are all gone. I'll have to find something else that'll work instead. But thankfully, I've got several extra bottles here. But certain colors get used up quicker than others, so there's a point at which I'll go, well, all I've got left is red. So gosh, what am I going to do with just red? So, but that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. I know. But so I sympathize with Gary, definitely. Yeah. All right.
Okay, let me take the next one, and we'll segue into this anyway. It's the same theme,
right?
So here we go. I mean, basically we're going to see C.O. Jones 2, then we're going to see Barry Baskerville, hopefully, and then comes Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, Volume 10. As of this episode, you are now doing the illustrations for the 10th in our best-selling Sherlock Holmes anthology.
Right.
This volume contains brand new stories by I.A. Watson, Greg Hatcher, and 2 shorts by Aaron Smith. Graham Hill has already turned in a truly wonderful cover, so expect this to come out relatively soon.
Yeah, it's a matter of when I can get these illustrations done, and then off to our proofreader. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? I love Graham's cover. It's totally different than anything we've used before, which is what I always look for when we're trying to recruit artists to do the Holmes covers. Again, because the books are so successful. And for that, we thank all our loyal airmen and the people who spread the word on this particular series. Thank you so much for that. This book is going to be a lot of fun. It's a great mix, as you're discovering, Rob, because it literally starts off with a novella by I.A. Watson, which is a little longer than what he usually gives us.
Yeah.
And it's a really different kind of Holmes story. Then we get a regular-sized short for us from Greg Hatcher, who's done Holmes before for us and does always a good job. And good old Aaron Smith, who, I think like Ian has almost been in every single volume we've done.
I think he's missed one, and if that.
Right. And this time, Aaron gives us 2 little shorts that are really, really a lot of fun. So basically, you're getting 5 brand new 4. You're getting 4 brand new Sherlock Holmes adventures in this particular issue.
Yeah, one of those adventures is double-sized, so it's like getting 5.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Good old Ian. Amazing.
Yeah, great story. Yeah.
And that segues because no sooner are we getting all of this out, our books and whatever, then our partners out in California, Mr. Brown and Radio Archives, have been working overtime themselves, and I'll let you take that next agenda.
Yes, don't forget Radio Archives. All too often we use shows to focus on new happenings here at Hangar 27, which is what most of our loyal airmen want to know. But at the same time, we should remind all of you that our good friend Tom Brown and his team of superb readers continue to produce audio versions of all our titles, and in the past 2 weeks have released 3 more stellar Airship 27 audiobooks. First, there was Mystery Men and Women, volume... okay, you don't have the number here, but that was 4, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Volume 4, read by Joe... Okay, and I'm going you know how I am with pronouncing names. Well, but I think this one's pretty easy. Joe Formicella,
yep,
which featured stories by Derek Ferguson, Adam Lance Garcia, Mark Halegua, Andrew Salmon, and Greg Bastianelli. This was followed by Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective Volume 9. They're almost caught up with us.
Well, that's why I was talking about it when I was reading, the fact that we're putting together Volume 10.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already got Volume 9 done as an audiobook. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's great. Yes. Okay. And an error message pop up on the computer I had to get rid of. But anyway, Consulting Detective Volume 9, our latest in that best-selling series, and as ever, the amazing George Cuck, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, Ron.
I'd say Cush.
Cush, you're probably right. Kuch, Cush, yeah.
Yep.
Did the narration with story, and I hate that I mispronounce people's names, but it's what can I say? It's the plain old Anglo-Saxon Rob Davis. You know, I don't have that many ethnic names to speak around here. Did the narration with stories by I.A. Watson, Eric Franklin, and Fred Adams Jr. And finally, just a few days ago, Ron's own Captain Hazard number 5, Custer's Ghost, was released with Stuart. Okay, another one. I'm getting. Galfi?
What is it about Italians and reading?
I don't know, but and I don't know many Italians here, so these names.
I would say Goffi.
Goffi, okay. I don't know that many Italians, so Stuart Goffi. Wow. You always throw me the ones with all these names.
Mark Allegro is going to come after you now.
He's going to eat me alive, yes. So doing the reading. So Stuart Goffi. Doing the reading. Believe us when we say, if you've never listened to one of our Pulp adventures, as presented by one of Radio Archive's super talented voice actors, who probably know how to pronounce names like that, you are missing a truly wonderful experience. They bring these tales to an entire level of fun and excitement, entirely new level of fun and excitement, and ordering them is easy enough as all audio versions sell directly on the title's Amazon page. They should be listed right there along with the Kindle and the paperback. Honestly, if you are one of those busy people with a long commute to and from work every day, this is a great way of making something tedious, something fun. Give them a listen. You'll be glad you did. And I have listened to several of them, and they are just amazing at what they can do reading our books.
Right. I'm with you. Okay, I'm always excited every time Tom notifies us that a new audiobook is available and out there. And again, these readers are amazing. They really are. And it's something that we talk about a lot with our colleagues, our writing colleagues, because I've had the distinct fun of hearing the Brother Bone stories, and now the Captain Hazard stories. By the Radio Archive narrators. And Rob, it's like you sit there and you go, it's like somebody else wrote it. I mean, it's like, and when I said that whole line in the agenda thing about a whole new level of experience, that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Because they get so animated in their readings, they bring such depth and drama with reading these stories that, again, it's easy for me sometimes to have that this suspension, disbelief that I didn't even write this thing. What's going to happen next? I'm just tuning in and listening, just like any other regular fan. And believe me, I was recently talking to one of our illustrators about these audiobooks, and he was applauding Tom and Radio Archives a great deal and told me that he loves to listen to their audiobooks when he draws at night. So, there you go.
Cool.
Yes, I think
Very
so
cool.
too. All right. Aside from all this fun that we have with the pulps, and again, it was high time that we gave mention to Radio Archives again, because, like you said, they're really catching up fast for our catalog.
Yeah, they started not that long ago, and suddenly here we are. They've caught up to us from the Sherlock Holmes things, and we've been pumping those out one a year. And in fact, we're going to put out 2 Consulting Detectives this year, and yet they've still caught up with us. So, yeah, Volume 9's already on audiobooks, so they're going to have to sit and twiddle their thumbs a little while now. Now that they've caught up with us, man.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, it's also a spur in the butt for you and me to get cracking and get some more books out there for them to read.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to take this next one.
Okay.
It's not all that big, but again, we talk about pulps, we talk about audio versions, and now on the comic front. Hopefully in time for Halloween, which is coming up next month, Redbud Studios is collecting the first 5 issues of Ron Fortier's Tales of the Macabre, featuring 20 short tales of fantasy, horror, and just plain old creepiness. And we're adding a brand new 25th bonus story, which has never been in that series before. And just the other night, Rob and I sat down and exchanged a few emails about what the cover should be. I had an idea, because, again, we're hoping to get this out for Halloween. I had a Halloween-themed concept. I ran it past Rob. He turned it around in one night. My wife went crazy when she saw it. My grandkids, everybody loves it. It's a beautiful piece, Rob. It's really, really fun and so appropriate for Halloween. The entire package is 130 pages long. So fingers crossed, just in time for all those ghouls, witches, and goblins who will come out on Beggars Night in your community. Here's hoping we can get this out to our friends for Halloween.
Cool. Yep. I'm hoping to get it out get finished and up at CreateSpace sometime this weekend. But now that everything else is kind of suddenly, with C.O. Jones now in there and some other things going on, it may be early next week before I can get that one out there. But it's in the mix, so it should be in the mix coming in probably in the next 7 days. There's several things popping up.
The spur for that whole idea, because you and I had talked way back when we started doing the series and other series for Redbud Studios, was ultimately doing collections. And, it's a normal thing. Fans like big books. They like to get their monies and their values worth when they buy a comic. And so we had given a lot of thought to, after, doing 5 issues, and I think we've done 7 now of Tales of the Macabre.
Something like that. I think we're up to 7.
It would be really neat to do a collection of the first 5 books, which this is. It looks absolutely fantastic. And I forgot to mention, but at the back of the book, there's also, a 3 or 4 page preview.
Three pages. I had some pages to fill, so I grabbed 3 pages from the Secret Agent X story that we're doing, and to put that in there at the end. Again, I'm hoping to find some time to get that thing done, because I've got like 6 or 7 pages left to draw. And I just need to find time to do it. It's this book always gets pushed to the back burner when all this other stuff suddenly comes to the fore. I just need to stick to my schedule of 1 day a week, just doing a page. Because that's how I did Daughter of Dracula. It was 1 page a week for 2 years.
Yes.
So I have to get back on something like that again, I think, to get this done. So, but we'll see. I'm hoping.
Right. The thing with all this that finally got me motivated to talk to you and to get the project going, as far as the big Tales of the Macabre collection, was our local comic shop this year has decided they're going to do a big event on Halloween night.
Oh, there you go.
Right. And so, that being the case, they reached out to us local creators asking if we would participate and help them like we do on Free Comic Book Day. So Todd Jones, again, one of the organizers, myself, and several of the other people have been given invitations from the comic shop to come in, set up tables, and the requisite thing with this particular event is it'll be called Horror Fest, and the only thing that we're supposed to have on our tables are horror-related items. So I won't be bringing Mr. Jigsaw, I won't be bringing Captain Hazard or any of the pulp books. The only thing I was going to have on the table is just Tales of the Macabre, maybe Brother Bones.
Well, now, wait a minute. You've got one issue of Mr. Jigsaw that would fit. The Ghost Story.
Oh, the last one. Of course. The Runaway Ghost. Thank you.
Yeah, put that on the table. Right. Put that on your table.
Here's what you're going to love, buddy, okay? So Valerie and Todd say, you know what? We got to make you look like you are on the cover. And I went, excuse me? What's that mean? So they're going out. We're going to go out and find me a top hat and a coat, and we're going to get some makeup and give me this white palo look, all right?
Oh, Lord.
So I will be definitely the host at the Horror Fest as far as my table is concerned.
Oh, no.
If we pull it off, there will be lots of pictures, and we'll share it with everybody on Facebook and on the Redbud Studio Facebook page.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, Rob's done Santa, and now you're going to do a horror host.
I'm going to be the horror host. There you go, man. The stuff we do for our art. What can I say? Okay, hey, I'll let you read the last little item here in the agenda because we're coming to the close.
Okay, yes. Ron's next appearances. From September 27th to October 1st, he will be a guest in Denver at the Rocky Mountain Comic-Con. And on October 7th, he will be in Scottsbluff, Nebraska for a one-day comic event at a shopping mall there. Rob is looking at some possibilities for going to conventions. There's the Kansas City Comic-Con, which is in the same venue as Planet Comic-Con, only it's just smaller, but it's in the same venue, and it's going to be in November. So I'm looking at maybe getting a table and setting up there, since some of my other conventions have disappeared that I used to go to. I might see if I can get into that. That's a possibility. Any fans in the Kansas City area that want to kick me in the behind to get me to actually do this, yeah, just email me or get a hold of us through Facebook and let me know that you want to see me there. But it's looking like I might do that. I'll have to see what else is on the calendar, but it's like November 10th through 13th if I remember the dates right off the top of my head.
That's great. That is great news. Excellent, Ruff.
I'm hoping. I think I might end up doing that, and I hope the weather cooperates too, for that matter.
Yeah, that's always tricky. We start getting into the winter months, right. All right? It's like, please be kind. Please be kind. I have to drive.
Yeah, and Planet Comic-Con is in February this year, which is another kind of iffy time of the year. You're talking about Kansas City.
I hate February.
Yeah, because it can be really, really snowy in February. So
it can be white nasty.
Yeah, so I don't know about that one either. But I've already purchased the table for that. So I'm going to have to find some way to get there one way or the other. So I am going to be there for
a dog sled team, Rob.
Something, yeah, St. Bernard's or something, or skis, and just start a couple of days early.
We're fast approaching the hour, believe it or not, as ever.
Yep, we're pretty close.
Anything else you want to share with the loyal airmen, my friend?
No, we've talked about pretty much everything, and I even threw in that bit about the Kansas City Comic-Con at Bartle Hall in Kansas City in November. That's all I can think of. I'm looking at other things to maybe do in the next year or so to kind of replace the shows that disappeared on me. So we'll see what happens. But I think KC Comic Con. There's one in my old hometown of Springfield, Missouri that Wizard World is doing now. So I'm looking at that maybe too. I don't know. That one's kind of iffy because I've never been a huge fan of Wizard World. It's a little too corporate for my tastes, but in Springfield it might not be that bad. That's a smaller town, and so it might be a little more interesting. But anyway, yeah, those are possibilities. But that's it for me.
All right. Hey, as ever, thank you to all loyal airmen for listening in, as they always do. A tip of the hat to Brant Sparky Fowler, who makes this at all possible for us. We really appreciate it. Please check out all the Zone 4 podcasts that the member of this family, Brant and his co-hosts, do some really, really fun shows. And once again, thanks for being on board. Rob, I'll let you sign out and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, this is Chief Engineer Rob Davis signing off.
And as ever, Captain Ron says, down ship.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.